This is the Connecting People model. This model identifies all of the processes which are involved and explains how they work together to reach the end goal, increasing a service user's connections with others. We hope it will be useful in services for people with mental health issues, disabilities, substance misuse issues, or people with other care, support or housing needs. The model provides a framework for practice in health and social care agencies. It was developed from a study of good practice, so it is possible that practitioners may already be working in this way. What is new about the model is that it articulates a way of working which can be undertaken in a number of different settings and contexts to help people to connect with others. The model is centred around the partnership of a practitioner and a service user within an agency. By agency, we mean the service provider or team. It is based upon the principles of co-production. Rather than a practitioner doing and a service user receiving, practitioners and service users co-create the objectives and actions within the model together. This means that the model represents a shared journey of discovery, with inputs being invested and outcomes being produced for both the practitioner and the service user.
Now we will look more closely at the different aspects of the model. The agency, or the service provider, in which Connecting People is implemented, whether this is an NHS trust, local authority, voluntary or private sector organisation, a social enterprise or something else, is really crucial. It is depicted on the model here in orange as an all-encompassing factor that underpins and runs throughout the programme. This demonstrates the power that the agency has to support the rest of the process. Without a supportive agency, it is much harder for the rest of the programme to run smoothly. There are a number of features that are typical of an agency where the programme works well. These include a modelling of good practice, skill sharing, community engagement and good local knowledge. This means that the agency will have a strong knowledge of local assets such as activities, groups or resources, and the social networks available in the area outside of the health, social care and wellbeing services.
The agency can provide a physical environment that facilitates social connections and can provide useful links with community resources which practitioners may not have independently. Although the local community is extremely important, other communities, such as communities of interest or online communities, should not be overlooked, as they can be extremely helpful to service users. The agency also plays an integral part in helping service users to access other community resources and networks through the way in which they provide their services, such as using meeting rooms in the local community, for example. The agency is depicted as running up through the centre of the model. This demonstrates how the shared knowledge of the local community and the model held by the agency can prevent local connections or projects failing when practitioners leave. This can also help to reduce reliance on individual practitioners who may be the only ones to hold connections within the local community. The agency is key to holding the structure of the Connecting People programme together.
We next move to the partnership of the practitioner and the service user. At the top of the model are some prerequisites which need to be in place before the programme cycle can start moving forward. The practitioner needs to have empathy, a can-do attitude and be a skilled networker, while the service user they are working with needs to have some enthusiasm for engaging in this process and ownership of it. Together, the practitioner and other service user work in partnership, which ideally needs to be equal relationship. Both need to see what they can gain from the other and what they can give back in order to ensure the programme process is a success. Qualities within this partnership also include the shared attributes of confidence, flexibility, lived experience, or comprehensive understanding of the service user group in which they are working. Other qualities include openness, hope, and trust. The importance of this partnership is clear throughout the model. The green cycle, which represents the practitioner's journey during the programme, and the blue cycle, which represents the journey of the service user, overlap to symbolise that they are intertwined and independent. As you can see from these circles, Connecting People is not a traditional linear process of practitioner doing something for or to the service user, and an outcome occurring as a result of this. We have used these two interlocking circles to represent the fluidity of the process and uncertainty about it, when and to what extent social work network development will occur.
The goal of connecting people is to get the two circles moving in tandem, working together to support the service user to develop their social connection. It is down to a strong partnership to ensure that the practitioner can maintain a good relationship with the service user and support them to continue moving forward into role and relationship beyond the service. Once again, the partnership is highlighted in a list of shared processes that occur during the program. This is represented by the circle in the middle. It is the true heart of the model because it represents the co-produced activities. When the practitioner and service user meet for the first time in the context of this model, they explore the aspiration and life goal of the individual and develop a realistic strategy together to support him or her move toward this. The strategy may be in the context of what the agency provides, and it may be additional to that. Some underpinning element of these activities may include network and asset assessment, objective development and aspiration, where the practitioner talk about new ideas and help the person to develop their existing ones. Following on from this, facilitation occur as well as meeting expectation, meaning that the service user and practitioner both continue to fulfill their side of the partnership. At the orientation stage, the practitioner helps to ensure that the individual knows the facilities available to them. This link with signposting where they are shown how to access the one that they select to engage with and are potentially supported to engage with them. Finally, skill recognition and feedback complete the share processes.
A service user's journey, represented by the blue circle on the right, is the focus of the process as it is where the social network development, seen here as enhanced social networks, is expected to occur. We expect every instance to be different, but in general the process should involve catalysing ideas and experiences, where the service user is exposed to new ideas and has their existing ones encouraged and developed, being introduced to new people and activities, the development of skills and interests, both new ones and existing ones, the development of social confidence, and ultimately developing networks with new people and organisations. In other words, developing positive social capital. This may also be referred to as the service user building currency. We have deliberately omitted any details about what the service user and practitioner might do within this process, as it is up to them to co-produce the activities. However, we believe that the social network development may occur at any point in this process. A key point to note is that the individual is free to leave and re-enter connecting people processes as they want and need to. They may go away and come back at a different stage in their recovery journey, or as they develop more confidence in their ability to form relationships and links outside of services. They may not have liked the activities or groups they initially joined, and so may choose to re-engage with a different organisation, group or network. The agency and practitioner need to be supportive about this in order to make sure that the person is comfortable moving through the process.
The practitioner's journey, represented by the green circle on the left, is equal as important in the process. The connecting people model assumes that the practitioner will need to develop their own social network knowledge in order to support the service on their journey. Practitioners will need to build relationships with both the service user and often their family, as well as their own local organisations, groups, activities, networks and communities. They will need to foster trust throughout the reliability and interpersonal skills, identify opportunities, engage with the local community of the service user, develop their own networks and resources, and remember these for future use. Adapt to new ideas and utilise their contacts in the process of supporting the service user where they're working with. It is important that the practitioner can think creatively and use these resources effectively in order for them to keep the green circle turning. At any point, they may need to provide extra support or reassess their involvement while the service user they are working with may also need to seek advice from them and develop their own self-awareness on their journey.
Whatever, life is never easy. Even if the practitioner and service user work through the process, there could still be things that stop social network development. The possible barriers are presented as a smaller circle that turn against the journeys of the service user and practitioner. They are not necessarily internal to the service user or the practitioner themselves, but all have the common factor of working in the opposite direction to the Connecting People program cycle, and so potentially posing massive challenges.
For the service user, these barriers may include stigma from external factors, the service user themselves or their families and significant figures in their life, diversity factors such as minority groups feeling less able or willing to engage with mainstream activities, groups or communities, physical health problems, complicated external lives, unhelpful attitudes of self and the organisation providing the context for the programme, bad social capital where the service user support network is not conducive to their recovery, and structural factors including a lack of information on resources available, lack of local activities or groups, particularly in rural or coastal areas, for example, poor transport links, or a lack of finances to access activities, for example. These barriers will present the practitioner with a number of challenges and are likely to be the most time-consuming element of their work. Practitioners and service users together need to challenge where possible and find ways to work around the barriers in order for the Connecting People programme cycle to progress.
The practitioner may also face barriers. These may include a lack of local knowledge which prevents them from making new connections, and poor procedures or bureaucracy compromising their ability to work effectively with a service user. They may also include a lack of resources such as time or funding to ensure that the best way of working with a service user is used. However, the attitudes of the agency, the practitioner and the local community can be one of the largest barriers faced. The can-do mentality mentioned earlier is crucial in order for practitioners to find ways to work around these barriers.
It is believed that when the Connecting People programme moves in the dynamic way that is seen in this model, the outcomes will include an enhancement in the service user's social network, and therefore an increase in their levels of social capital. For the practitioner, an enhancement in their social network development skills may occur. In addition, the service user may increase their social confidence and be participating in more social activities. These activities are ideally activities based on shared interests within the local community, rather than being confined to NHS, local authority, or other social care or health services. The service user would also have deepened their relationships, more closely aligned their activities to their talents, and increased their own contribution to the lives of others. On the other side of the process, the practitioner may have built up their knowledge of the local community and improved the ways that they network and interact with others. Again, we want to emphasise that this is not a prescriptive or linear process. The nature of social network development means that it can be quite spontaneous and may occur at any point of the service user's journey along the programme. This model brings together the factors which we believe are necessary to help make it happen.
We hope that this explanation of the model has helped you to better understand the components of the Connecting People programme. When thinking about the programme, we encourage you to see how your existing practice fits with Connecting People's processes. If you would like to know more about the programme, please go to our website www.connectingpeople.net.